All right. Today I got a special episode for you guys, and it is how to get shredded, how to get under 5% body fat. I'm going to go through some training as well too. So stay tuned because this is going to be an epic episode, and by the end of it, you guys are going to see and know exactly how to get under 5% body fat shredded. I'm here with my client Jesse today, and we are training. So we're just doing for today's session. Jesse's got back and arms, but I'm doing a bit of something a little bit different because I kind of mess around with my training a little bit. Today was supposed to be a rest day for me, but I just thought I'll come and join Jesse with his training for a bit, and at the same time do some accessory work and work on some of the things that I am struggling with currently with my program. So a little bit of form and technique stuff as well too. So I decided to jump on the lat pull down to start with. But today we are talking about how to get shredded, how to get under 5% body fat shredded. So I started working with Jesse over a year ago. In fact, a lot longer. We went into a bulking phase first, and most of you that get into muscle building and have a goal would always get into a building phase where you actually try and build as much muscle as possible. So we got up to close to 115 kilos, so quite heavy at the moment. Jesse is just over 89, I think. So this is the thing, guys. Like, he is a tall dude. He's holding a great amount of muscle at the moment. So we just hear some poison, doing some poison. I'm gonna actually shove it on the front screen. His transformation from his peak of his bulk to now. We only about a week and a bit out of competition. So next Sunday he is going to be jumping on stage and competing in his first ever competition in the classic division and bodybuilding. So one of the biggest things you guys will know with bodybuilding is you have to be lean to jump on stage, okay? But it's not very simple just, to look like Jesse, because at the end of the day, Jesse is a natural athlete, but he's also lean, but he's also holding a lot of muscle while he's being lean. So how do you actually get leaner and hold on to muscle? And keep it like that as well, and get to that low body fat percentage, because obviously getting this low, you guys can see his like the grainy skin, how lean he is it's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm going to teach you guys exactly how we got to under 5% body fat and how we made this happen. So let's get a little bit into the food side of things. So we're gonna break this up into training, nutrition, and supplementation. Okay. Now, when it comes to training, the first things we gotta do is, first of all, went to a bulking phase. But today's topic, if I was to go over into the bulking aspect, is going to take too long. So with this commentary today, I'm going to go into the shredding phase. So when it comes to shredding, it's all about energy output, so how much you actually dedicate. And we had different phases of training. So we had some strength phases, okay, where we still, even in our starting of our shred phase, we're still working on developing muscle groups that we found are weaker parts. So me being a coach, I'm quite critical. So I had to look at Jesse's overall package and be like, look, this is what we're going to try and build in the meantime, even though we're in the shredding phase. In the building phase, we did that already, but even after the building phase, you start to shred and body fat comes off, you start to actually see the actual weaknesses and actual strengths. So we decided to work in still shaping up some of the weakness and bringing them out and actually making them strengths. And this is what was the outcome. Look at that. He looks amazing, insane, but he doesn't just look like that. Look, when it comes to training, work ethic, I know this guy works super hard, and his hard work speaks for himself. I cannot take credit for any of this because I'm just here to guide. I literally have been able to just guide him, and he goes into the gym. I don't wake up to go to the gym for him. And this one thing about my clients when I talk about, like, I don't do the work for them. I mean, I've been through this journey. I've competed at a high level. I've won a professional world title, and I know what it takes. So I understand that, coaches cannot just be taking credit for their client's work. Jesse has done all the hard work to get here, and he deserves all the credit. No one wakes him up to go train. No one actually puts in that effort. He does. Okay, so when it comes to training, went into a nice big strength building phase as well too. But when I say strength hypertrophy, sorry, not strength, more mass building, even though we're shredding, we were focused on building the weaker muscle groups. So, but we still kept, we prioritized certain muscle groups that we'll bring out, but we also kept a lot of big lifts in there. Why do we keep big lifts in there? To maximize testosterone, natural testosterone production as well, and to also ensure that Jesse is also still bringing in a massive energy output. Okay, so at the peak of Jesse's bulk, he was about 5,500 calories. So that's a lot of food. Like, that's actually a lot of food. Again, for those of you that have actually done a bulk, you know how hard it is to be eating that and also be eating a lot of, good food. It wasn't just eating Marcus burgers, He had a lot of nutritious food in his diet. So come back to training aspects. We went in from there, and then we went on to a hypertrophy phase with time and attention. Now, the whole point of us actually going to this hypertrophy time and attention phase was to get these muscle groups engaged that we're trying to work on, and to make sure everything could feel those muscle groups work. But he was also, while hypertrophy, he was still lifting quite heavy while he was in the time and attention phase. So he was still going heavy, but just controlling those heavy movements to make sure he could really activate those muscles and taking his time to actually warm up into these exercises. So this is a amazing one. And then we decided to bump it up a bit, where we went into a very high volume phase, where this was just to increase the amount of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Now, for those of you that don't know much about sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, it's basically increasing your muscle glycogen uptake. In other words, it's basically pumping as much blood in the muscles so your muscles can take in more glycogen. Okay, so in this sense, when it came up to the nutrition aspect, we actually increased his carbohydrates intake too. So it has to go kind of hand in hand with that. Now, glycogen, carbohydrates as well too. It's just energy in your muscles. Okay. Now, if sarcoplasmic hypertrophy just basically means that your muscles are gonna appear bigger because they're gonna be full, and they're gonna just be filled with glycogen stores in our body. So I don't want to get too scientific here. I want to keep this as simple as possible for us. Okay. And then after I had actually kind of mastered and started sculpting the physique, at this point we're at the point where we could see some very good visible muscle, to see his waist to chest ratio, to shoulder ratio, to leg ratio, and we could also work on a nice little conventional bro split. And he could really absolutely smash and develop every single muscle group as we were building. That's 50 reps of bench press, by the way, if anyone's counted. So this was awesome with our training, and over the weeks, we've basically maneuvered his training. We've also still worked with periodization, progressive overload, name it. There's been lots and lots of different training sessions that we've worked to get him where he is at the moment. And the most important thing from the training, that he could basically use any training program and ideally potentially get quite similar results. But if you don't have that, like specific, are you aiming for? What are you trying to build aesthetics? And that's what some of the things these training programs have helped them with. But it's also more, you need to have the mental strength to go in and be like, look, I'm going to execute that. I'm going to go in and train that. I'm going to train that as hard, because sometimes the training program is also reliant on strength. And if you go in and I'm like, I can potentially lift 40 kilos for 6 reps, but I go in and intentionally do just 20 kilos for 6 because I'm not trying to push myself that day, then you really are cheating yourself. And that's what Jesse made sure he didn't do. He went in hard. He pushed himself on, I know, days where he probably didn't even feel like training. And, for lifestyle is different, but this is competition, okay? So this goes beyond training for the fact that you are trying to maintain a lifestyle. This ain't lifestyle. Competitions is not something that you should be doing continuously. It's something that you do and you kind of get out of it. It's not something that's permanent. Okay, so let's scrap our training. Okay, this is me doing 160 kilos and bench, by the way. We're gonna go into a little bit of poison soon with Jesse, because running through some poison that's 170, and Jesse was spotting me with that. I went with high volume. What I did was I did a pre-exhaustion phase. So went up to 50 reps, then 20 reps, and so exhausted myself, and then went for a heavy to just see where I'll go with that. But yeah, that's a hard one. Now here's Jesse doing some poison. We're just running through some poison. Let's get into the nutrition aspect of it, and this way you can see the shreds. It's funny because where we actually posed, the lighting was actually pretty bad. I have my camera which has a little bit of light, so this actually kind of lit him up a bit. But you guys know that overall lighting itself makes a massive difference. But he looked phenomenal, like he looked amazing. Where we're training downstairs, this is upstairs. Downstairs actually had much better lighting there, but it's sometimes good to pose in bad lighting, because if you can actually look this good in bad lighting, you can only imagine what you're gonna look like on stage, you know. And Jesse's posing was nice and smooth. Like I said, bodybuilding is not just training; it's training, nutrition, supplementation, poison. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. And this guy's put his heart and soul into it, and is looking amazing, very very classic. And this is what we're going for. Now let's get into the nutrition side of things. Okay. Now, obviously, when he is going to start leaning out from his bulking phase, he's going to be in a deficit. Deficit meaning the amount of food that he's eating is actually less than his energy is exerting. Okay. Now, training as well to cardio. Sorry, we started off of a very very low phase. With cardio, then we went up. The max we probably went up to was 30 minutes on the stepper, and then we kind of dropped the stepper out, went back to the treadmill for a little bit. So it wasn't like anything crazy per se. I've heard of people going for hours and hours on of cardio. We didn't end up having to do that because Jesse's also got a very very fast metabolism too. So you know, working with him and getting him all the way up to 5,500 calories in his bulking phase, you know, we have a lot of room to move. So that's been awesome. And that's one of the things you guys got to realize as well too. If imagine you guys start a prep and you were at 2,000 calories, okay, for a male, and you know, let's say you were like 20 weeks out, like that's not sustainable. By the time that you're literally that close to comp, you're either going to be doing 2 hours of cardio, or you're going to be, you know, eating 500 calories, and that's definitely not okay. I mean, at 500 calories, your hormones can't even work properly. So it's very good to be mindful of what you're doing here. And for those of you that are unaware with what I'm doing actually here, I'm doing some slow eccentrics, which is working the negative phase and then pumping as much blood into the muscle after that. So this is an actual nice brutal bicep workout, which I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, nutrition. Making sure that you are standardizing and strategizing the way you approach. So make sure if in your off-season phase you haven't been able to go up in calories, then I personally think that you are ready for some trouble here. Now, there's another way you can do it. You can actually increase your training volume or your training intensity, okay, to make sure the energy output from your actual training sessions are quite high. So then even when you go into cardio, you don't have to do a lot of cardio, okay? You can do this by including more compound movements as well too, because they will really, really exhaust you, and you end up with a higher energy output overall. However, this is also more taxing on your central nervous system. So you got to realize that every little thing that you do, there's always a negative there. So you got to be very, very mindful. So in short, my personal advice I give to you, make sure you go into a nice little bulking phase, or even a body recomp, or you know, even a way that you can actually increase your calories and increase your metabolism and speed up your metabolism before you start a prep phase. That's my personal advice to you. So then you have a lot of room to move. And that's one of the reasons when I'm working with clients, I like to actually work with them in the off-season phase if there's a chance let's say they're only like 12 weeks out and they come out to me and be like, look, I need you to coach me. I'm only 12 weeks out. Where you are at the moment, what can we do in that time? I'm going to explain to you. This is what's required before. All right, supplementation, okay? Now, obviously, Jesse is a natural athlete, so he's never, ever had any performance-enhancing drugs, and he's also competing in the Natural Federation. So, I know a lot of people might look at his physique and be like, whoa, this is not attainable naturally. This is attainable naturally, and it was attained naturally. So I don't care what you guys say. I've seen this kid grind, and I trust him, and I know he has put in the work into it, and he is coming out on top. So let's talk about supplementation. When I say supplementation, we're talking creatine. It's one of the supplements that we're using. Over here, we're talking protein powder. At some point, zinc as well. Not always. Magnesium has been good. We've had branched chain amino acids as well too. Carnitine. We've had a fat burner in there. Yeah. So these are just some of the supplements off my head. Now, the funny thing is, more of our supplementation are more health subs, okay? So we're looking at like apple cider vinegar, your lemon water, like things like the maca powder. Those are some of our biggest. We've actually got a bigger load of health subs, your fish oils, than we actually do with your full-on bodybuilding subs. So yeah, it's actually crazy. That a lot of people might think, oh, like it's just crazy so much. You guys are loading up the supplements are supplements, guys. Make sure you eat your food. Your nutrition is important. It's number one, and it's the real deal. That is how you guys are gonna make your gains. Okay, supplements. Use supplements as supplements. Again, I was actually talking to someone today about supplementation, and they asked, so do I have to have protein? And I said to him, look, protein is a supplement. Okay, look, they actually wanted to, compete in like a sport. And I said that once you want to train like an athlete or are trained like an athlete, then you're not considered normal. It means you actually need more nutrients to your body, which is where, yes, you can get from food, but sometimes it's very convenient for supplementation. Okay. So that's where supplements come in line. And sometimes your gut might not absorb all your nutrients from your food. Sometimes supplements might be easier because they contain a more isolated version of the nutrient that you are going for. So these are the reasons why you should have supplementation. This is all, but I don't advise anyone, under the age of 18 to have supplementation. And if you have any supplementation, just a bit of a disclaimer, it is on you what supplementation you have. These are just some of the ones that I've listed what we use. And I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I know it's something different, but yeah, leave in the comments below what you want to see more of. And if you want to keep up to date with Jessie Shank on Instagram. And again, check out Kwame Duah on Instagram. We're clocking out. Your boy is out. Thanks again for joining.